This is BIA, Becoming in Action, a space to explore the lifelong journey of growth as leaders, as professionals, and as human beings. Through honest conversations and lived experience, we evolve with courage and intention. Here's your host, Sandy Abear.
Hello, and welcome back to the podcast. One of the unexpected blessings that has come from doing this podcast is reconnecting with my cousin, Kerry. She is almost 3 years older than me, and so she's my brother's age. And growing up, I tended to hang with her two younger sisters, and she tended to hang with my brother. My sister posted about my podcast. Kerry saw and listened, and we have discovered that we are so similar. She's got such a passion for cooking, connecting with people, helping people heal, and she's got an amazing story. I am so excited to share it with everyone. Welcome to the podcast, Kerry.
Hey, thanks for having me. It really is special to reconnect. It is uncanny, the number of similarities that we have. I mean, thank you, first of all, for inviting me on and for holding this space for the people that you've interviewed recently. I am enjoying the evolution of this podcast and indeed the evolution of you. It's been really special to reconnect on this. Your kitchen, your food, the cathartic cooking, all of that is just beautiful to watch. I'm just enjoying it.
Thank you. I am calling this my BIA era now.
Yep.
It's just a whole new season of life. I do feel like I'm becoming the best version of myself, so it's very exciting.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I love that. I am a consummate learner. I just want to continue to grow. I really just have a natural curiosity about people, so reconnecting and learning about who you are as an adult, especially with the ages of the children that we have. You have grown adult children and then still one in the home for sure, with some growing to do. And all mine are out and on their own and living their best life in their 20s. And so it's just like the similarities really are uncanny.
It's been really fun.
Yes, agreed.
You have 3 children.
Yes.
And they are ages?
They are 21, 23, 25 right now, currently. Nobody's had a birthday yet this year, so everybody's 2 years apart. They're special at every age. I have enjoyed those children immensely. It's been a roller coaster of a life with them, but watching them grow and develop into who they're becoming is very, very special to me. I love it. I'm very close to my kids.
You have been a single parent for quite a while.
Yeah. Shared custody with my ex. And when the kids were young, Caden was 10. And so that would have made the girls 6 and 8. Ups and downs, roller coasters, good sometimes, not so good other times. And that's okay. You navigate life the best way that you can. My importance was always on those children and making sure that they were cared for and nurtured along the way emotionally. That is really where my heart is. That's who I am, is that caretaker. I do enjoy holding space for them, being able to continue to mentor them. I mean, what's so funny story. I don't know why I'm going off this track already, but this is hilarious. So my son bought a condo. My youngest daughter lives with him. So siblings live together. And I did not set up his condo. He put all the stuff in there and they live there together. The number of times they've called me in the 2 years they've lived together to ask me where something is crazy. Here's the crazier part. I'll tell them where it's at and it's there. So they have that house set up exactly the same as how they were raised in a home with me. And so it's so funny to me, but there's parts of all of them that are little mini me's. So it's cool. I love having children.
Yes. It's a huge joy in life. Very challenging.
Oh, yes.
But
yep. Ups and downs, just like everything else.
Any relationship.
Yes. Any relationship, for sure.
You've worked for AT&T for 35 years?
Yes, 35 years.
What has kept you there?
Well, it was never a passion. Okay, so let's start there. I was young. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I'll be 57 this year. So you look at that 35 years, I wasn't even 20 when I started. Right?
Wow.
So It was an opportunity. It was there. My dad worked there my entire life. My mom worked there for a certain amount of time as well. She ran the store in Fremont, and my dad was a lineman in Fremont. My mom sold phones. We always had ridiculously crazy phones. You remember the chalkboard phone there? And we had a Mickey Mouse phone. We had all those phones because my mom ran the store where you used to go in and pay your bill and then buy your phone or trade it out. They leased those phones. So my parents worked there, and they had not hired anyone anywhere at AT&T. Well, it was Ohio Bell when I hired in. They hadn't hired anyone in a couple decades. I mean, like, it was the 70s. And so they were hiring. And my dad was like, hey, they're doing a lot of hiring. You should go take the test. So I went down to Columbus. I took the test. You had to do an electricity test, resistance, ohms, all that kind of knowledge. You had to do a physical test where you could prove that you could lift so much weight, had good balance because you're going to be 20, 30, 50 feet in the air. And so I passed all those. It was me and one other guy, about 35, 40 candidates. And we were the only two who passed all the tests. So we're sitting there, and Rita Johnson was the lady's name who came out and got me. Just a fantastic woman. She came out and got me in. She brought me in, and she's like, okay, well, let me get you a file started. And so she opens this massive filing cabinet. It was big, like 6 foot long, 6 foot tall with the big drawers and everything. And she says, hey, there's another Malo in here. She said, there's one other Malo in here. She said, do you know anyone who works here? And I said, well, my dad works here. And she pulls out this file. She said, Dean is your dad? And I said, yeah. And she said, why didn't you tell me that, honey? We would have fast-tracked you right in here. And she was like, oh, well, no mind now. We got you on your own merit. And so she was just fantastic. So I hired in like that. They didn't even know my dad worked there. But AT&T back in the day was big on family. I know many of men I've worked with over the years. Their dad worked there. Their grandpa worked there. Their brothers worked there. So it was very family-oriented back in the day.
And you started as a line person?
I started in repair. I was actually in my dad's crew. It was good and it wasn't good. Like, that was my dad's away from home spot. I never really had conversation with him to see how he felt about that and what that was like. He never seemed to mind it. He was sad when he saw me move to Columbus and come down here and continue working for AT&T. He was in that crew, and it was crazy. I started as just repair, and then it was early 90s, right? And so I had gone to Terra, and I was in computer programming. I was super bored with it. I walked in there and could read binary code like it was English or something. And I was like, why is it taking everyone so long to do this? So I left that, started here at AT&T. Then some program came through where it was data analysis, and nobody wanted to do it. These guys that had been working there for decades was like, we're not touching a computer. They didn't want to touch a computer. It was 1991. And so I was lowest on the totem pole, so I was forced to do it. Well, you hand me a computer, I'm sitting there, I'm like, sure, all day long. And so I was in data analysis fast track right away. I went right to it. I only worked in repair maybe a month or two, and this program came through, and then I was forced into it. I was forced with a lineman. There was a lineman. They had one from construction, one from repair. And so I was from the repair side. The guy that I worked with, he was low man on the totem pole, and he'd been there 20 years almost. So he was very angry at the very beginning of that. But we got to be close friends. I did that up there for 5 years and then came down to Columbus in late 90s. And been here ever since.
So those 5 years, were you on your dad's crew that whole time?
I was, but I didn't see him every day. I started earlier and had to get like to different small towns. So I worked all of that data analysis stuff. We took data from Sandusky, Tipton, Findlay, Fostoria, Fremont. So I was traveling a lot. So I might see him at the end of the day, beginning of the day. I didn't live at home during that time anyway. I had apartments that were close by and whatnot.
What's kept you there this whole time?
Wow. I'd like to say it was just this great reason and have all this drive and passion for AT&T. But no, it was just a comfort level. I never really felt like it was something that I had to spend a lot of time processing, a lot of bandwidth of my own self on it. And so it paid good money, and it has afforded my family a good life over these 35 years. It has allowed us to do a lot of things that a lot of people may not do because of the pay scale has kept pace with the economy throughout my career. But it really just was something I did. It was a job. It was part of my values, my system, what I grew up in. It was very, very normal. It just felt like this is what you do. You get a job, you keep a job, you have a job. That's it. Yeah.
And I think that's really fair. I think more and more people are putting a lot of pressure on their work to provide everything they need and fulfill them. It's great if it can, but it doesn't always.
Right.
Although it sounds like you've had great relationships and have really invested in the people you've worked with.
Yes, truly I have. First and foremost, really, I care about the customers that we serve. And I think that is actually a unique component of me as someone who works at AT&T, especially at my level. I am at the bottom. There is no one less than my job title. So I'm not an executive. I'm not a manager. I'm not at the top of the food chain or anything. So for someone at my level to say I truly care about the people that we are providing service to, that is a big deal to me. And you don't hear that from a lot of people. And sometimes when I've said that in meetings in the past, people are like, yeah, right. Yeah, I've actually had higher executives say something to that effect to me. I said, I actually care about the residents in this community. And they're like, roll their eyes, an eye roll kind of moment for them. But it's true. Now I manage contractors. So even though my title's not management, it's basically a project manager job. I say to almost every single contractor that I hire that I want every resident to become a customer. And you are the first face that they see out there with a shovel in your hand to come make a mess in their yard. So keep that in mind. And I also say, you know me well enough. I've walked you through what my expectations of this project are. This is my yard. Every yard you walk into is Kerry's yard. If you think of it that way, you'll have more respect for it, I hope. That is the way that I let them know how important it is to me to have you take care of the space, the yard, the ground. People get unhinged when you walk into their yard with a shovel in the middle of May.
Yeah.
It's a fact. And that's what my guys are doing. That's what I manage. I manage all of our placing for our Westerville area for AT&T. And I have all my contractors, all young guys that work for me.
But you say it's not a passion, but your depth of care is clearly a passion.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I can agree with that.
And that's so meaningful. You've heard that from lots of people. It's not what you do, it's the passion you bring to it.
Yeah.
Whether you're sweeping up garbage on the street or whatever, you can do it with a level of care and enthusiasm that reaches people and touches their heart.
Yeah. Yeah. And that takes me back to something my daughter, Kaya, the youngest, has said to me recently. She's young. She's 21 years old. So she's navigating the job market, is unsure of what she really wants to do in life. So she's trying her hand. And I said, this is when you need to do that. You have the opportunity to try to figure out what you might want to do. And she said, well, you've always known what you want to do. You always loved AT&T. You love AT&T. And I said, Kaya, I'm glad that you think that, because that is exactly what I wanted you guys to think, that what you do matters no matter what it is. And she said, well, every day you come in the door from work and you're just happy. You had a good day. And I said, yeah, that's a mindset. That is a mindset. You can be negative and you can complain about what you do all day long, but you're going to be miserable at the end of that day. If you go into it with the right attitude and you have the right mindset and you can reframe the things that are happening around you that you may see as negative into a positive, you're going to be all the better for it. That's what I've tried to give my kids their whole life, is like, we can reframe this. I'm so glad that we do so much more talking about this, the mindset. I mean, it's Mental Health Awareness Month. It was huge at my recovery group this week. It's just wonderful to be able to have this space. You have this space where people can come in and talk about what their passion is. I put passion into what I do because it's important to the people that I'm doing those things for. That's the important part. It's the person, the relationship.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your journey from your car accident to today.
Yeah, so I was in a car accident. I don't even remember what year it was. Kids were young, and I was prescribed Oxycontin. and had no idea that I was becoming addicted to that, had no idea that was a thing. When it was over and I couldn't take those pills anymore, there was no medical need. It was already a little too late. I used to drink when I was young, but I hadn't drank raising the kids. I didn't want them to see that. It just was one of those family moral code things that I held. And so when I came off that oxy and couldn't get it any longer, I was addicted. I didn't really realize at the time that I was addicted, but I needed something to cope with life then. So when hard things happened, I immediately went to, how can I numb this? And so that's where that all went. And so eventually it became alcohol. It's legal. It's cheap. It's right there. And I drank to excess. I ended up in recovery. I never went to rehab, never had any accidents, never got pulled over to the police, never went to jail. And my sponsor always says, make sure you put the word yet on the end of that, because tomorrow you could go right back out and step into that if you chose. And so she's a big proponent on you're working this program every day. But I eventually worked with an addiction counselor, and we track things back. So you go backwards to find out where the root of all this stuff was. And we tracked it all the way back to that car accident and the oxy that I was prescribed, because we looked at the whole progression of it. You start with a lower milligram and you get to a higher milligram, and they just kept giving it to you. It was a continuation of one pill after another.
It's your treatment. You
That's
think
right.
that's what I'm supposed to do.
That's right. That's exactly right. And I had no idea that's where it started. I was just looking at myself with shame and guilt when I was sitting in that active alcoholism. I've been in Celebrate Recovery now for 10 years, but I'm 5 years sober from no alcohol. I had 4 relapses throughout my first 5 years. The last one was no joke, and I can still hear it, see it, everything play out in my head. And it is one of those things that I do think of from time to time, and that's okay, because that keeps me mindful of where I never want to be again.
How did you arrive at Celebrate Recovery?
I raised the kids in a little Baptist church out on the east side of town in New Albany. I served in production there, so I did all things production. I just kind of got into it. One of my friends said, hey, I think you might want to try this. And so I said, okay, maybe. And so I started serving in production, became the producer. I loved it. One of the ladies there that came up under me, and I was training her on Pro Presenter and all things production, she was very open and honest about Celebrate Recovery and her walk in recovery. So she was an addiction. Celebrate Recovery for any hurt, hang-up, or habit. Only 1 in 3 people who walk through the doors suffers or struggles with anything addiction-related. The other 2 out of the 3 people are things like emotional issues, grief, anger, control, codependency, the impacts of abuse, physical, emotional, sexual. And so all of those things that's all in Celebrate Recovery. And that is mostly what you will find in Celebrate Recovery is any hurt, hang-up, or habit. And so this woman was very open and honest about her struggles with codependency and what she was walking through. She was just always talking about it. So when I was struggling with alcohol and I was like, I got to get to the end of this, I called her on a Saturday night. I was probably drinking. And I said, man, I think I need what you're talking about. You talk about that recovery program like it saved your life. And she said, you meet me after church tomorrow. I went to church. I showed up. She marched me right down to the Celebrate Recovery room, opened up this cabinet, got me some literature, told me when the next meeting was, said, I think you need to be in step study. She just gave it all to me in 1 second flat. I took that list home and I looked it over. I found a meeting that was close to me, that was convenient and worked for my schedule because I was a selfish alcoholic. I found a meeting that worked for me. I called the care pastor that was listed on there. He said, yeah, we're here Friday nights. So I went to that church on a Friday night, and I'll tell you what, Sandy, I walked into that room, and I looked around, and I listened, and I was like, I don't belong here. I'm not like these people, right? The song starts, music starts, worship is going, and it's this song by Zach Williams called Chain Breakers, and it's about God releasing everything off of you. He can do everything. You don't got to do this on your own. So I was like, okay. By the time that meeting was over, an hour and a half, 2 hours later, I was sitting in the parking lot in tears. I knew I was exactly where I needed to be. And that was 10 years ago. It'll be 10 years, November 3rd. I knew I was in the right place. I knew I was in the right place. I started step study the next week. And actually, my current sponsor I've had for 9 years now, she was the one that led that step study and walked me through it.
What is this 12-step program?
Yes, 12-step, just like AA, NA. Yes.
When you say you started step study, you start with step 1 and they're walking you through it?
Yes.
Is that what it means?
Yeah. So Celebrate Recovery, we have meetings every week. We do the progression throughout the year of those steps and talk through them, get teachings and lessons on them, and we hear testimonies. But then step study is in that same funnel of the curriculum. It is really a deep dive into those 12 steps. So each step actually has a couple of lessons. There's participant guides that have a whole bunch of questions that lead you to deeper healing. You really get to the root of why you're behaving the way you're behaving. It brings great self-awareness. I actually just had my very last class from this current step study. I'm leading that, and it was last night. And it was just beautiful. I have chills just thinking about it right now because I've been witness to these women, and it's by gender. Step studies are by gender. I've been witness to these women transforming their lives, and it transforms the life of your family. My daughter, Kaya, is a leader in Celebrate Recovery. She led step study with me and 2 other women from my Celebrate Recovery. She's been a leader. She's been in Celebrate Recovery for over 2.5 years, just on a whim as well. She doesn't struggle with addiction of any kind. She's had 2 or 3 drinks in her life. That's proof in and of itself that it's for anything.
How did you end up being a leader?
So for the first several years, I had service roles at the Celebrate Recovery. I was at Jersey Baptist out there in New Albany, Ohio. Then I did some step studies. One church is my church that I go to on Sundays. They didn't have Celebrate Recovery, but someone had heard that I had been through step study. So they asked me to be a table lead in a step study that they had. And so I walked through that with ladies, and that person was trying to get Celebrate Recovery into one church. And eventually it happened. They had enough male and female leaders to make it happen. I was serving at another one. This is my 3rd Celebrate Recovery in the Central Ohio area that I've served at. I ran production and did little things at the first one. Any service is service, giving back. You can't keep it if you don't give it away, right? That saying. I'd done a step study, my 3rd step study, and I thought, well, I know which CR I want to go to. Well, that's not where I ended up. I ended up at Genoa Baptist Church. It just was kind of instant leadership there. I had been through the program for 5 years. They were just restarting their program with a new ministry leader. It was one of those things where I had 5 years under my belt. I kind of knew how this ran. I'm a type A rule follower. The only stop signs that are suggestions are the ones in parking lots, okay? Everything else, like you stop, you go. I'm a rule follower.
Another thing we have in common.
There we go. Mark them down. The list is getting along, Sandy. The list is getting long. I knew CRDNA is what it's called. This started out at Saddleback Church. It's a big curriculum. They're celebrating 35 years this July. I knew how it ran. So people were looking at me like, Kerry, what do you think? Kind of how it happened. And I was there for a year and a half. And CR at one church was ramping up. And I had always kept tight with those people. We did step studies together. You become family. I told everyone last night, you now have family. We're family. If you look at my contacts on my phone for every one of those ladies, it says OC, which is one church, CR, Celebrate Recovery, SSS, Step Study Sister, because that's what they are. You form such a unique and tight bond during that. When one church ramped up, I was asked to come into leadership there, service really. So I did, and that's where I'm at today. So it's just been this evolution. The first year I was the trainer because I knew all the CRDNA kind of stuff. So I was holding space for that and teaching our leaders, guiding them. I had an apprentice at the time. We served in that role together. Actually, one of my very best friends. We trained everybody up, and then just a natural progression. There's this group in Celebrate Recovery. It's called TEAM. It's TEAM. It's an acronym, and it's the trainers, the encouragers, the assimilation, and the ministry leader. I wanted to be the A because the A is all the marketing and the creative stuff. I was making all these Canva videos and stuff that I thought were really cool. It's just getting the creative juices out in one way or another. And then the ministry leader was like, well, we thought maybe you'd want to apprentice to be the ministry leader. And I was like, no. I was like wanting to be the A. I'm like, no, I'm not even ready for this. I'm not called to this kind of thing. And so I really just sat, prayed about it. I talked to my sponsor. I talked to some other people that I trust to mentor me. And so I ended up stepping into that apprentice role. When there was a shift and a change really quickly, they needed me to step up into the ministry leader role. And I was like, well, no, I can't do this because I'm leading step study. You can't do that. Ministry leader to me is the one that shepherds all the rest of the leaders. You are leading leaders now. And that is something completely different than leading my guys on a job site on a Monday digging ditches. And so a very different component. I want to shepherd and steward people good. Well, I want to be someone that they can come to. I want to be able to be available for that. I want to be able to know them. My first initial was like, no. And it's funny because the ministry leader at the time said, you don't have to answer right now. You just pray about it. And I said, well, I have to wait to answer anyway. I had a concussion from a camping accident. And I said, my doctor said I wasn't allowed to make any important decisions for 2 weeks. And so it's one of those things where I was like, I can't tell you yes or no right now anyway. That whole week I struggled. I prayed. I spent time talking to my sponsor, important people. Well, Friday came around. When I was headed out camping for the weekend, I spoke with the care pastor. I was telling her the reasons that I felt I was unqualified for this space and how I viewed what a ministry leader is for Celebrate Recovery, because we're talking like I got 9 years in almost at this point in time in this conversation. This was just last fall. And so I was like, no, because this is what a ministry leader is to me. This is what they look like. And she's like, well, I'm going to challenge you to step outside of that and consider that you need to learn a different way of leading so that you can evolve as a leader. And so that kind of hit me. And I was like, dang it, she got me again, kind of thing. But I was like, yeah, that's it. That's it. And so I really did. I took some time over the weekend. I prayed about it. And I really just spent some time alone in reflection. And at the end of the weekend, I was like, okay, God, you got next, not me. What can I do?
Fascinating, because it sounds like you have been a reluctant leader in many situations.
Yes.
And yet you do it so powerfully, and others are looking to you for leadership. Why do you think that there's that reluctance there?
I think it probably stems from root causes of childhood. I mean, yes, I was the firstborn, I was oldest, but family dynamics, I think I ended up struggling early with low self-worth. That's one of the things that I've processed and worked through. I think there's, even though some people in my past would say, well, you're full of pride, but that's a persona. That's a protection mechanism, coping mechanism, a protection that I've used, being funny, being boisterous, being the life of the party. That's not my true heart, my true self. I think I really just have this actual deep-seated humility. Well, it's not all about me. There's something bigger, there's something greater out there, and everybody is important. I just really have a passion for others.
And that's what makes you such a great leader.
Yes.
It really is.
Yeah.
Are you starting to feel more comfortable in a leadership position now?
I really am, and I really attribute it to the people that are walking alongside me. The previous ministry leader is an amazing encourager, phenomenal human being. She's actually preaching in July on the 26th at church. She just posted it up today. It's incredible to watch that happen. She's just an amazing encourager. I also have several friends in leadership at Celebrate Recovery. Really, everyone is my friend, but I have some really close ties and bonds to some people. And they're just very encouraging, supportive, loving. And then truly it goes back to the care pastor. I meet with her often. I know that I could call her right now if I had an issue with anything or I had anything I needed to bounce off of her. She's just very encouraging. It is really, truly the people that I've surrounded myself with that God has placed in my past, because my path. I don't think that I've sought this out in any way, shape, or form. I think that along the path of my life, all of these things have all happened for a reason. I'm honestly grateful that I can look back and see it all and that I can watch it unfolding now. So I am gaining confidence. I'm getting comfortable in leadership looks different than what I saw it as just a year ago.
I'd like to challenge you a little
Oh, gosh, here we are.
because you get back what you put out. It is not an accident that you have these wonderful, deep relationships and friendships. That's what you're putting out.
Yeah.
So do not underestimate how powerful you are.
Thank you. I'll try. Good challenge.
You carry heavy, heavy things with this leadership position.
Yeah.
You're hearing people's very complicated, messy, painful stories. How do you take care of yourself as you do that?
Fantastic question. I love that question because it really is all about self-care. There is a weight, there is a burden that you carry, and you have to find ways that work for you to release it. I have a lot of tips and tricks. I give them to sponsees because I sponsor people as well. For me, one of my biggest things is I process it internally first. Then I sit with myself. If I need to journal about it, I will write. I do free writing. I learned how to do some free writing and just throw that thing in the trash. Doesn't matter what I'm thinking, how deep, how dark, how wrong, how right. It's just writing hand to paper. And then it goes in the garbage. It is very helpful for me. Also have to verbally process that at the end of the day because I am a verbal processor, talk with my hands. I actually just had an occurrence on Monday that I walked through that was very heavy for me. People very close to me, and it was hard. It was a hard space to hold. What ended up happening was I could actually see my old self in one of them, and it was just sad. It was just heavy on my heart. And so I went home that night. Then I was really quiet. I had a leadership meeting at 7 p.m. and I'm the ministry leader. I'm holding the space. It's my meeting. And so I came into that meeting and I even said at the beginning, it's been a hard day. Number one, I think you have to verbalize it. You got to name it. You've got to say what you're walking through because if you can't verbalize it, if you hold it all internally, for me, a verbal processor, an extrovert, I'm never going to get it out. It's going to sit in there and stew and turn into something bigger. So my first thing is saying it out loud to someone that I trust. So that's first and foremost. And when I did that, they were like, oh gosh, is something at work? I'm like, no, it's just holding space for others. And it's heavy sometimes. Well, by the end of that hour-long meeting, after going through everything, hearing from everyone, at the end of our leadership meetings, we always go around and say what you need prayer for. And at the end of that meeting, I felt a shift and a weight lift. And I thanked them profusely. I said, you guys, this has changed my mood. And it was exactly what I needed, exactly when I needed it. And so after that meeting, I journaled. I prayed. I did my daily inventory. That's part of the 12 steps. Something I do every single night of my life. I take a look at my day and reflect on my wrongs and rights. Do I owe someone an amends? Do I owe an apology? Am I holding on to something that I need to forgive someone for because I was hurt or wounded by what they said to me or did? And then I went to bed. When I woke up the next morning, I felt better, but I still had not verbally processed that to someone, that event, that day, those hours that I held that space. And so I called one of my besties and I said, well, actually I texted her and I said, hey, what you got going on today? You got any time for a call? She's like, I'm free all day. Call me. And I did. I picked up the phone right then and there and I talked to her for a half an hour. She might have said 5 words and she just let me spit it out. And it was a safe space. There was no confidentiality or anything broken from what I held space for the day before. But it was exactly what I needed. When I was finished with that conversation, I was free. I was free. And that's what this curriculum has taught me. That's what these 12 steps have taught me, is how to walk in these things that are heavy, that are my doing, things I take accountability for, but also the things that I'm walking through with others. It's a step by step. And like I said, I'm a rule follower. So I followed the curriculum when I first learned it, but now I really live it. I don't participate in CR. I am CR. It is me. It is a piece of my being.
Such a great reminder that we need to let people show up for us in our messing. You don't have to have it all together. What a gift you gave your friend, because you're demonstrating it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to need support.
Yep.
And what a gift to yourself that she was there for you.
Yes.
I love that idea of it's not something you do, it's something you are.
Right. Yep.
Well, you mentioned that you have this creative side, the Canva videos, and it is fascinating because you are very technical in many, many ways. But you also like beautiful things. You love to cook and have beautiful and healthy meals. You've started this new endeavor that really brings these passions together.
Yeah.
Tell us about it.
The Nourished recovery is crazy. It just kind of came together because I was sharing all of my food pics and stuff that I do with one of my good friends. He is really into fitness and works in that field. And so I'm always sharing my food with him. And he's like, you need a podcast, you need a video, you need this, you need that. He's all big into marketing. He's got it all. He's like, you need something that says the Nourished recovery. So he's got all these ideas, right? He's always speaking them to me. And then my daughter Kaya had said something about it because she's really big into wanting to be on YouTube and vlog and journal her day in video. And I was like, yeah, it's not really something I think I would want to do. I don't want people seeing me out there. It just kind of felt a little off. But the more they encouraged me, I was like, you know what, that sounds kind of fun. And so that's what I did. I started this channel. I got a chat bot. Her name is Mary, and she's a boss. So I'm just going to say it. I'm just going to say it. She knows me, and I gave her her personality, told her how she needed to behave, and she has helped me with the creative side, like setting up what my videos are going to be like. She gives me recipe ideas, like all those kinds of things. So I started this YouTube channel. It's called The Nourished Recovery. I do meal prep and meal planning because I prep my meals every weekend. I'm way too busy during the week to fiddle around with dinner every night. And so I do my meal prep on the weekends. And I just started spitting recovery while I was doing it because it's what I do. It's what I know. I'm well versed in it. And it's growing me in a lot of different ways. So you talked about that creative space. It's really making me see things and the whole creative side of me. I used to think old school about creativity was drawing or painting. I'm 56 years old. That's what I grew up. That's creativity. That's artistry, painting and drawing. And that's where it ends. But as I've evolved and as technology has evolved, I've seen that creativity is everything. Creativity is this room and the way you have it designed. Creativity is my outlet there, doing the videos, setting up Instagram reels and all those kinds of things. That's one of my favorite pieces of that entire thing is making that plate right. The view at my house, the windows, the light, there's these massive windows in the dining room and it's southeast. So doing my videos and making sure that food is done like 1, 2, 3 o'clock, that's my sweet spot. And those things, they're amazing. I love the still photos of the food. That's one of my favorite things. I go to antique stores and thrift stores to find little tchotchkes and whatnot that'll go next to them. I got the lavender and some olive oil bottles, little crocks and all the things. My plates, my napkins, a napkin ring, all those things. Thrift store, antique stores, just to find the right thing. Yes, that's a piece of the creativity for sure.
And I want that little white tablespoon that sits.
Yeah.
I love that.
I have 2 of them, and there's 4 more at the antique store.
So cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so clever because it sits up.
That's
it's
right.
It's ceramic.
Yep.
Tablespoon, measuring spoon.
It is.
It's got a flat bottom, so it sits nicely. So you can fill it up. And then, like, if you're going to put in vanilla or whatever,
Yep.
and you want to wait, it can just sit there.
Yeah. Yeah.
It.
It sits right there. I needed a tablespoon of capers last week and 2 tablespoons of water. And it is indeed 1 tablespoon, and use a tablespoon a ton. Yeah, so it's great. I love it. I actually love it. I love it. I love to do it. I love to figure out what my content is going to be, what I'm going to talk about for the week. I love deciding on what recipe I'm going to use for the week. I love setting up the video the way that I want it, checking the different views. I love editing and downloading my content I just use CapCut Free and put that thing together. But I love every part of it. It's so funny when this last one came out, I'm sitting there and I'm watching it. It's like 14 minutes. And of course, I'm going to watch the thing in its entirety so that I can see what I'm posting of. And so I was watching it and I'm laughing at myself. I'm like, look at this little old lady on the screen. It's so funny. I was like, that's so cute. And it was just the funniest thing to see yourself, because when I'm doing it, I don't see myself like that, right? Like what I see in the mirror is not what I feel internally. My view in the mirror is not the same thing that I'm feeling on a daily. My standing joke, I've said it 1,000 times if I've said it once, is that I'm just a 16-year-old boy trapped in a 56-year-old woman's body, because, I'm all about the shoes and the fashion game and stuff, and it's not a 56-year-old lady. I know we took some stills. I'm wearing some jeans, but I got on my Air Force Ones and my T-shirt under here. That's just me. That's just who I am. And it's funny to watch it back on video when I don't see myself as what that video looks like. And it's funny. I'm just really reminded of my dad's mom, my grandma Melo.
Ada.
Yeah, Ada, man, Ada. It's just funny. It's just funny to see yourself in that when you start doing something like that.
I don't think you look like a little old lady, but we'll put a pin in that part. But I do think that there's something really healthy about watching yourself in a video and really accepting that is who you are and integrating it into your mind. Yeah. And I love that you're saying, oh, she's so cute. Yeah, I think that's so great.
Thank you. Yeah, it's fun. It's fun.
I'm very familiar with building something from the ground up that starts out as this little baby thing, and it takes on a life of its own, and it grows, and it feels very vulnerable, and it's changing you.
Yeah,
for sure. But it's also changing and touching other people.
Yes, very much so.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's really, truly uncanny, the feedback that I've received from it. One of my sisters is reading her Bible. We're doing Bible plans together on the Bible app. She's trying to see where she's sitting with God, like this beautiful thing. I've got guys, 25-year-old, 35-year-old guys at Celebrate Recovery. They're talking to me about my channel. They're watching my video every week. They're playing stuff back to me. They also give me feedback, things that they're saying about the channel and about what they're hearing from me, and saying encouraging things like, you're a really good teacher. Even my sister, Chris, she's my youngest sister. She's the one that's gotten back into her Bible. She said to me, you missed your calling. You're really good at this. You're a really good teacher. So that is a piece of it. I think I said maybe in my second episode, I'm glad you guys are here. I'm glad everybody's listening. But this is really just a creative outlet for me. So I am glad that it's touching people. It's funny, I've got people coming up to me and saying, oh, I want to come cook in your kitchen. So all the little nuances about it. It's not just the recovery teachings, because I am walking through the 12 steps. I started talking about why recovery even matters in our lives. And then we stepped into denial. You got to recognize the minutia that you see in your daily life is not the only thing happening. There's so much more going on around you. If you are unaware of those things, it can really affect your life. I think a lot of people, especially in my circle, are so involved in working on self and then giving back to others. That's what I'm used to people doing. So when I come across people who aren't, that are giving me feedback and talking to me about it, I'm just really intrigued. I just really, truly am curious about others and sitting across from the table from them. We don't have to agree. We're not always going to agree, but that doesn't mean that we get up from that table and we don't keep loving one another and we don't keep walking this path called life together.
Absolutely. Okay. So I would say you did not miss your calling in life by any means, but it is exciting to see you stepping more fully into it.
Yeah.
And it's been a process.
Yes. Yes, for sure.
Little bit.
Step by step, one step at a time.
That's right.
I'm all about the step work. I'm really just walking through the steps. This week I'm going to talk about shame versus guilt, what that looks like.
And what is the YouTube channel?
The YouTube channel is The Nourished Recovery.
Fantastic. I enjoy it every week.
I'm glad you're watching.
I am. It's the only thing on YouTube I'm subscribed to, so I go there just special for you.
Wow. Okay. Look at that. Well, you want to talk about people that I'm influencing and people that are listening. There you are. You're one. If that's the only thing you're subscribed to on YouTube, I'm humbled.
Oh,
That's fantastic.
I've always been more of a podcast person.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've never gotten into YouTube, but I am enjoying it for sure.
Yeah. I've always been a reader. I want a book in my hands. I've listened to one book in the last maybe 10 years because I can't wrap my head around it. And even that book, I was reading it in my hand and listening to it at the same time. And I'm like, Mel, it was Let Them Theory. I was like, Mel, why aren't you reading exactly what's in the book? I need you to follow this, right? But she has her little nuances in there where she kind of goes off the cuff here and there. And so it's just funny, but I want to hold a book in my hand. I don't watch a lot of TV. I don't even have cable TV. There's an antenna up in the attic, and the only thing that's ever on is news, or I put on Amazon Music. I am listening to more podcasts as of late, learning a lot. Celebrate Recovery has a podcast, and there's a couple others that I listen to. I listen to your podcast every week, too. I've loved watching the evolution of it. It's a really beautiful sight.
Thank you. What does the next year look like for you? What are your hopes and dreams?
Hopes and dreams. Let's stick with next year. Next year. What does the next year look like? The next year really looks like growing this Celebrate Recovery at One Church. I think being the ministry leader and accepting that service role is something that, again, go back to the type A, rule follower, serious, check a list. I mean, there's boxes to be checked off today. I want to make sure that I'm stewarding that role properly. That's really at the forefront of my focus. Continuing to walk along my adult children. My son has just opened up a new store. They've been in the same location in Gahanna for the last 3 or 4 years. Maybe they just moved to downtown Columbus, like literally across the street from the Arnold Schwarzenegger statue at the convention center. So the foot traffic is probably going to be off the hook. So last Friday was their friends and family night, and then Saturday they opened.
We have to say your 16-year-old boy self is thrilled because it's tennis shoes.
Oh, yeah. Well, actually, it's retail. So they're
doing more
now.
Oh, they're doing clothing too.
Yeah. So, well, they only got clothing right now.
Oh.
So they went from a resale shop where they had the shoes and all the clothing to now they're retail shop. And so it's all clothing for now.
Nice.
So, yeah, it's cool. It's a great space. Phenomenal. It's Archetype in Columbus, Ohio. It's phenomenal space. Yeah. And then my middle child, oldest daughter, she's in nursing school. She's been accepted in nursing school. And then my youngest, Kaya, she is actually right now at this moment, Friday morning, I talked to her on the way up here. She is looking for more camping stuff. So she wants to start camping on her own, which I'm not thrilled about that because she is a beautiful 21-year-old female. But she wants to start doing a YouTube channel, walking along that path. So that's really exciting for me because I've camped now for years. I camped growing up. It was something my family did, but then I didn't raise my children camping. Once they were out on their own and doing their own thing, Mama went back to camping. That's my happy space. It's like a mini vacation once a month from April to October, at least once a month. So, yeah.
Talking about transitions and life changes. Your dad passed away last summer.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Yeah. Wow. All right. That's a good one because honestly, the step study that I'm in is something that helped me walk through that. And I just shared with the ladies last night. Had I not been in step study and processing it the way that I was, I wouldn't be as far along in this grief journey as I am. My dad passed away July 27th. It was very quick Tuesday night, he was out to Culver's for a burger. And Saturday night, he's gone. My sister Kathy got there first. She had called my mom. And so then she called me and I could hear their voice. I dropped everything, put my stuff in a bag, and I was there in an hour and a half. Spent that whole day with him. Actually, I was the one standing right there over him when he took his last breath. Now, I was looking in his eyes. The guy knew what was going on until his last breath. It's not like you're sitting in a comatose state. We haven't walked through dementia where we don't know anyone or what we're doing. Guy knew. And I was able to grab his Bible off his bedside and pray over him. My nephew came up. We were able to sit with him one-on-one that last day. So as beautiful as a space that is to have and to be able to say goodbye in that way, it's still grief, right? It's still like he's gone. And I can't even tell you the amount of times that I have thought, well, I'll just ask Pops. I could just see what Pops would do in this, you know? I had to go through little moments of that this past year. What I realized was those first several months, I was just managing my grief efficiently. I wasn't walking in grief. I wasn't allowing myself to feel grief. When the feelings were coming up and the memories were coming up, I was like, okay, let's process this, right? Da-da-da-da-da. Gotta check the list, gotta process through. That's it. This is the way it works. That's my mind, the logistics, the way my brain works. And so I was walking through grief with my brain leading the way instead of my heart, if I'm being honest. But going into step study, walking in 12 steps with these ladies, and my words this year, like every time you're in a step study, you're looking at yourself. What's giving you problems in your daily life? What unhealthy coping mechanisms are you using? What behaviors are you exhibiting that are affecting your world in a negative way? Those types of things are what you go into step study. So my words this year, I'm processing grief and control. So control is very broad. Mine was very specific. I won't get into specifics of it, but it was very intentional. And what I realized doing all of these questions and answers for the last 9 months in the participants' guides, who doing some deep soul searching, deep heart work here, really looking at yourself internally, I was able to see what I was doing with my grief every time a memory came up. And when we got around to January, after the holidays, that's when you kind of get into the hard stuff. It's taking inventory of your life. I was sitting there and thinking through, what do I need to inventory about my dad's death? He was here, and now he's not. I didn't live with him these last few years. I wasn't always up here. It wasn't like I was tight. My sisters had a lot tighter daily interaction with my dad, and I didn't have that. And so I was constantly minimizing my relationship with my father before January this year. And that was part of that. And so once I was able to say, oh man, this guy built you. This guy gave you family foundation, your moral code, your ethics, your biblical foundation. This is this guy. This is your family of origin. This is who passed down these legacy components that you walk in every day. This is where that was formed from. And so a piece of walking through the grief was honoring the relationship that I had with my father as a child, as a young adult, and then also as I moved away. I will tell you this, I have seen my dad cry twice in his life, and one of them was when I was leaving Fremont to go down to Columbus to work, because he knew then that was it. And I'll never forget, I was at the curb saying goodbye to them on Washington Street, the big old Victorian in the presidential district. I was saying goodbye to my parents, taking off in that U-Haul that day, and my dad was crying, and he looked at me and he said, I never thought you'd be the one to leave Fremont. But you want to talk about crushing. But playing that memory back, it's not something that I look at as a bad thing. I look at it as he loved me deeply. He never had any sons. He always used to joke I was the closest thing he got to a son because I liked to fished with my grandparents, camped, all the things, didn't mind getting dirty, loved all that stuff, helped him paint the house and stain the deck.
Went into his line of work.
Went into his line of work. Yes. I actually just got some AT&T bucks. I got one of those DJI mics from Amazon because I wrote a legacy article and submitted it. I had someone reach out to me and say, hey, Kerry, we want you to share this at this level, and then you'd be entered into a chance to win this 150 bucks. And I was like, yeah, sure, I can send it to you. I sent it off, not thinking anything else, but it was legacy. You're right. That's his legacy, his line of work. Went into his line of work. I wear work boots every day of the week except Saturday and Sunday. So, yeah, honoring him was a big piece of allowing myself to really feel the grief, allow it to come, and
feel your feelings.
Yeah, feel your feelings.
It's a beautiful story, and I'm so sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
He's a great guy.
Yeah.
We spent a lot of time at your house growing up, and you guys at ours.
Yeah, for sure.
So.
I don't think of my story as something like revolutionary, like something that people need to hear, that it's something that will change people's lives. But the funny thing is, I'm watching it happen, seeing people come to me and then hearing them speak back to me what I'm doing for them. That affirmation, 5 love languages, words of affirmation, that's not something that I require. Quality time is mine. I want to spend good quality time with people. I'm good one-on-one or in a group. It's just, that is what matters to me. That's what I'm seeing come back to me. Get what you give.
You're doing amazing work all the way around. You mentor young men at work, teaching them great work ethic, how to be caring, how to be cared for. Your Celebrate Recovery stuff is life-changing for so many. And now you have the Nourished Recovery.
Yeah. Can't wait for what's next.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Kerry drove up here this morning from Columbus.
Yeah.
Our moms are coming for lunch.
Yes. Can't wait to see my mom.
Yes.
It's been a minute.
Yes, it'll be good.
Yeah.
I appreciate your vulnerability and your honesty and your heart. It's a really good conversation, and I learned quite a few things.
Well, thank you for having me.
Of course.
Again, I just want to say I just love what you're doing here. I look forward to the next episode, your next podcast. Every week, I'm like checking to see, where is this thing? It's up yet? So I'm always watching for it. I'm loving the stories that you're sharing. And this is an important piece of someone's journey. I am just a firm believer. You have to speak this stuff out. You really need to talk about how you changed, because that helps the next person. If you don't share what you've walked through, people are just looking at you as, oh, there's Kerry. She's the project manager on that project today. No big deal. If you don't share who you are, and I tell guys on my job site, I'll be praying for them. I got young guys having babies and all kinds of stuff. I am continually telling them, I'm appreciative of the work that you're doing for me today. They kind of look at me sideways. I don't think there's another project manager out there like me. I'm in a male-dominated culture, a male-dominated world. I am the only female in my crew. In fact, I think I'm the only female in construction outside in the entire city. There are some female engineers, but as far as my job, I'm the only female. And sometimes I'm the only female in the building. And I was in a meeting actually not too long ago that there was 34 people in there. I was only female. So that's a big part of the way that I am. The confidence that I carry at work is very different, but I'm in charge.
It's interesting because you had mentioned to me before that someone told you, well, no one else gets the same quality of work out of these guys that you do.
That's funny. That is true. And I think it's the relationship. And I say that all the time. The municipality that I work with at work is Westerville City. And it's always been one of those things where prior to me coming into this role, they've been like, oh, it's Westerville, or all we got to do with Westerville. It's one of those things. And since I've taken it over, I've really been intentional about the relationships that I've formed with the engineers, with the inspectors there, with the locators there, with all the people that are in the field. I am very intentional with my projects. I do for them, they do for me. It is easy to navigate the city of Westerville nowadays. And I talk about, even at work, how easy it is. They love my contractors. I set up meetings. This intentionality with relationships, I would say that's a key component of my makeup. It's not something I do. It is a piece of me. It is a piece of my heart. And I just think I was made that way.
It's a great reminder. We don't work for a company. We work for a manager.
Yeah.
And that person makes a difference. And
Very
you don't quit jobs. You quit your manager.
Yeah, for sure. And maybe that's why I'm still at AT. I've always taken ownership of the things that I've done, whether I was a splicer, whether I was a repairman, whether I was a data analyst, and now as a project manager. I take ownership of those things. I want to see them done well. No matter how big or little they may seem to someone else who's looking in, you're right. It is the manager. I love my guys, though. I really do love my guys. And it's a tough job. Well, you're digging holes for a living and placing conduit and pulling fiber. And
in the elements,
yes,
outside, yep.
All year long. It don't matter if there's 2 feet of snow on the ground or it's raining cats and dogs. My guys are out there working, and I love them for it.
Absolutely. I love you.
I love you.
Thank you for coming. I think our mothers have arrived.
Fantastic.
So we're going to wrap this up. Yeah. And again, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. I think what I'm taking away most from this conversation is that healing rarely happens all at once. It happens in small choices, in honest conversations, and letting people help carry the weight, and learning how to stay present instead of numbing, and allowing yourself to evolve into someone you maybe couldn't even imagine years ago. Kerry's story is such a beautiful reminder that recovery is not just about addiction. It's about recovering the truest parts of yourself, your voice, your worth, your creativity, your capacity for connection. I also love how much this conversation reflects the idea that leadership does not have to be loud or polished to be powerful. Sometimes leadership looks like consistency, compassion, showing up, holding space, feeding people, encouraging the person in front of you, telling the truth about your own life so someone else feels less alone. And honestly, one of my favorite parts of this whole conversation is seeing what can happen when we reconnect with people later in life and meet them again as fully formed adults. There's something really special about that. I thank Kerry so much for her honesty, her heart, her humor, and the work that she's doing in the world. I know this conversation is going to stay with people. And to everyone listening, maybe this episode invites you to ask yourself, what part of me is asking to be recovered right now? Where in your life are you coping instead of truly nourishing yourself? What is one pattern, habit, or belief you may need to honestly look at right now? Who are the people that help you feel safe enough to be fully honest? What part of your story have you minimized that maybe deserves more acknowledgement or compassion? Where are you being invited to grow into leadership, even if you don't feel fully ready? Thanks for listening. See you next time.